Again, my name is Mr. Hicks. I'm also joined by Mr. Jones, Mr. Knuckles, and Mr. Green. This morning for you all, we'll be talking about and of course demonstrating the military weapon of the time, which is the smoothbore flintlock musket. Now these are all military weapons made in arsenals or armories for militias and the army. In the United States, there's two arsenals or armories. First one is in Springfield, Massachusetts, circa 1795. That's what Mr. Jones and Mr. Knuckles are both holding. That's a Springfield. That's the first military weapon, if you will. A few years later down the road, the Harper's Ferry Arsenal will open up in Virginia, and the model 1816 would come out. That's what I'm holding. The American muskets are pretty much the same, the Harper's Ferry and the Springfield. The Harper's Ferry is just an inch shorter, and they're both 69 caliber. Now you also would have a British-made musket called a Brown Bess. That's what the entire Mexican army is using, as well as some of the defenders inside the walls of the Alamo. Work just like the American musket, but the slightly bigger ball. So that's a 75 caliber barrel, so 3/4 of an inch of lead. But again, all work or not work the same way. All smoothbore, meaning the barrel is just a tube. No rifling inside the barrel. Rifling are a series of cut grooves inside a long rifle barrel, which allows the ball to spin when you fire it, like throwing a football. But because there's none of that, that ball's not going to spin. Instead, it's just going to bounce around in the musket. The rifle can easily reach out 300 or more yards because of that rifling. But because there's no rifling in the musket, the effective range is only going to be about 75 yards. Now we can go out to 150, 200 yards. You just don't know where that lead ball is going to go. Because at 100 yards, that lead ball will already be about 6 feet off its target, just about left or right. So that's why the tactics of the time were to stand shoulder to shoulder in a line, and you're firing all together. You're more effective to fire all in a volley. Now the military's preferred muskets over rifles because of the loading time. The loading time for a musket is only 20 seconds, so they should get 3 shots per minute. That long rifle will take you almost a full minute to load and fire for 1 shot. And then on the battlefield, speed is everything. Now, of course, that camp life is about rest, but it's always about drill. The men would go through some basic drill maneuvers, as well as the practice way to load and fire the musket, which is a 12-step process. So we're going to go through some basic drill, as well as that 12-step process. The men are at what's called order arms. Then we're going to go to shoulder arms. The most common way for a soldier to carry that musket is in that left shoulder. Now you're marching 10 to 12 miles every day, so your arm is going to get pretty tired, so there has to be different ways to carry it. Support arms. So now the lock is nestled in the crease of the elbow. It's quite comfortable, and if you wanted to run into battle, you simply just grab the small of the stock and just run onto the battlefield. Shoulder arms. Now when it's raining, you don't want the lock mechanism to get wet, nor do you want no water down the barrel, especially if you have a powder charge. So the men will have to go to secure arms. So in this manner, now the lock mechanism is tucked underneath that left arm, and the barrel's pointed down, so now it's all protected from the elements. Shoulder arms. To the right shoulder shift arms. Yeah, another way you can carry it on that right shoulder. The downside is how high this gun sticks up. So if you're marching and you came across overhanging limbs, this gun's going to go right into them. So the men will have to go back to shoulder arms, trail arms. And when your right hand gets tired, switch hands, re-switch hands, shoulder arms. Now the sharp pointy thing on the end are called bayonets. So in times of hand-to-hand combat, the men will be ordered to arm, support, charge, bayonet, ha! Shoulder, arms. And of course with more men, it would look more intimidating. Unfix, bayonet. Squad, prepare to load in 12 times. Load. Open, hand. Handle, cartridge. Then you're going to pull out a paper cartridge from your cartridge box. On the bottom of every cartridge is the lead ball, and then the top has the predetermined amount of powder. which is crimped over. So the only way to get inside this cartridge is to tear cartridge. So you'll tear off the top and spin it out, then you'll prime. A little powder would be in that pan, then shut pan, cast about, charge, cartridge. So the remaining gunpowder is poured down the barrel. The paper in the ball that's left gets wadded up and stuffed in the barrel. Then we have to pack that all the way to the breech or the bottom of that barrel. So we're going to draw rammer, ram, cartridge. We're going to pack it nice and tight. Return, rammer, shoulder, arms. So that whole process should take 20 seconds. And the men go back to the left shoulder position. That tells the commanding officer that they're all loaded and ready to fire. So once he sees that, we know the next commands are ready, aim, fire. Big boom, and they do it all over again. Shoulder, arms. So we'll do that same 12-set process with an actual cartridge, and then we're going to load and fire 2 rounds at speed. Now it's going to be pretty loud, so if you have little ones or sensitive hearing, you might want to cover your ears.
Spread load 12 times. Load. Open. Hand. Handle. Cartridge. Tear. Cartridge. Press. Cut. Hand. How about? Charge. Cartridge. Draw. Remember? Ram, cartridge, return, remember? Shoulder, arm. Squad, press fire, ready, aim, fire. Load.
I don't think that's yeah, it's like the same as the shooting company.
Squad, prepare to fire, ready, aim, fire. Load. Squad, ready to fire, ready, aim, fire, shoulder, arm, elbow, feet, reset.